A warm welcome back to the Forensic Detailing channel. Do not forget to subscribe. In today's video we're going to be talking about cheap snow foam lances and if they're worth using. And here we may have one of the cheapest snow foam lances you can get. I paid £5 for this lance, I think like £5 and 8p, and £2.99 delivery from Aliexpress, and it turned up in about 4 or 5 days. So you could order a few more bits to get that delivery cost down as well. It came in this box. What else is in this box? Well, everything was in plastic bags individually, and it's got a quick release adapter on there that screws in there, and it's got a smaller orifice. That's, I think, a 1.1, and in there it comes with a 1.25 orifice. So if you put the smaller orifice in, you create a bit more back pressure, a bit more whip, and you might get thicker foam, but you're going to load up your pressure washer. It comes with a set of instructions, which is great, in English, troubleshooting and all that sort of stuff, and how to set it up. Yeah, using tips and stuff. That probably saves them some aggro, and it comes reasonably well packaged in a nice box with some instructions there for setting up your lance. So we've connected up the tube, we've connected it to the bottle. I want to do this live, so if we get any kind of problems with leaking and stuff like that, you're getting the full experience. And while I do that, I want to talk about the subject of snow foam lances. So basically you can get this for £5, which is phenomenally good value, isn't it? To pay £5 for a snow foam lance. This snow foam lance here is the mjjc Pro V2, which was the winner of my snow foam lance comparison I did a few years ago. This snow foam lance is generally still going well. I've dropped it a few times, and it can bend that kind of bolt that goes in the top. You can bend it back. What else goes wrong with these snow foam lances? If you drop them, you risk shearing off this plastic piece here. Some people complain that the bottles don't always thread in and they can kind of drop out. I haven't really experienced that, but I appreciate it may well be true, but it just, that seal there seems good for me. So yeah, no real problems with that. The only other thing I didn't like about this mjjc snow foam lance is the multi-access adjust. You need 2 hands, because if you grab hold of that to change the rake, it actually changes the axis. So you need to hold that while you turn that. You don't always have 2 hands while you've got one on the gun, so it can be a little bit frustrating. I could put some PTFE tape on this just to lock it, but no PTFE tape comes with it, so I'm going to just screw it on as it comes, and we see what we get. So that feels tight to me. I don't want to over torque that. We'll see if that springs a leak. So this lance was £37 when it won my test. It's now about £46, £47, so that it's gone up like 20% or something in price. Why, I don't know. In my head, historically, with snow foam lances, you used to have the PA lances, which were Italian made, and they always used to cost 40 quid, and everyone would say it's too much money. And then you had all these Chinese lances, which cost like somewhere between 15 and 25 quid. And brands then started offering a sort of variations of Chinese made lances, and then we saw more and more lances hit the market, probably coming from a finite number of sources. Now the way the market works, a premium detailing brand tends to want to charge about 40 quid for a snow foam lance, and the Chinese ones start all the way down to £5. We know that these Chinese ones work, but also other lances now have gone up in price, and you've got really premium lances like the MTM Hydro, which I believe, don't quote me on the price, but I believe it's about £75. You've got like the Griots one, you've got the Active one, and some of those are now knocking on the door of £100 for a snow foam lance. This particular lance here looks like it's got a steel fitment here and here, which, here's an example of a brass fitment. So in my head, steel would be better than brass as long as I'm not paying a fortune for it. I don't think it really needs to be made of like titanium or anything clever, because the point of failure is often the quality of the plastic components, which is really important. So like I said, that can shear off, and I don't think you've got the option of going and buy little bits. So when you break your lance, you tend to need to go and buy another one, and people don't like breaking them. When you break this at £5, you can just go and buy another one. So it looks like the actual hardware in this lance is of reasonable quality. Is it the best steel? Don't know. Certainly isn't the highest quality moulded plastic. It doesn't feel quite as good quality to me, and the proof is in the pudding when you kind of drop all these things, and can this crack, and can that just shatter and split off? I don't think you should be putting stickers on the bottle, because that's going to get soaked in chemicals and wear away and just look tatty and horrible. And I think this bottle that comes with it is a thinner, it's pretty stiff and reasonably robust, but it seems like a slightly thinner pet offering. This is a HDPE, and that flask is indestructible. That flask will fit onto this. So there we go. Let's have a look at what the foam is going to be produced. So I'm using 130 ml of Built Hamber touchless with 870 ml of water, which gives us roughly, in my system with this lance, a PIR of about 1%. So we're somewhere in the middle. But I want to use the same solution for both systems. So I'm just going to mix up, it doesn't matter if I get a bit of spillage, I'm just going to mix up a litre and just make sure it's all nicely stirred. So we've got a good distribution. Yeah, we should have there. And what we'll do is pop this in. And we'll pop it in and we'll compare both lances. How important is it to get, and we know this is going to go everywhere. I'll just show you because it's going to be fun. It's going to go everywhere. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Someone said pour it the other way around with the jug handle. I'll just go with this. Go with a bit of spillage. A bit of spillage is okay. That's roughly half. It gets a bit easier to pour. And that's roughly half. Let's just mop that up. Ow! That was a proper Inspector Clouseau moment. Right. This dangly thing's a little bit too long. You could trim it. They would argue that it's done to so it always sits in the bottom. It has a plastic filter with holes in the bottom rather than gauzing. The rubber doesn't feel like the best quality, but it's okay. The rubber hose, it seems like anything they can do, you know, as a bulk standard now, the bare minimum requirements of a snow foam lance have gone up a little bit, and you see them with these flexi hoses in it, because it doesn't really cost them any more money to implement that. So the sort of base standard has gone up, if you like. I don't really see the point of those breather feet as well. So there we go, we'll load it up. Both of these are running 1.25 orifices. Let's have a look and see what we get. We're only really interested in the film, you know. So let's pop that down here, get a nice wide angle, and we'll see what we get. I just want to make sure I've got the audio going here. Sorry, just bear with me. Yeah, I have, yeah. Okay, so there we go, there we go. Right, let's start with this new boy then. So we'll just give that a shake, pop it in. It's quite light as well, this snow foam lance, which is good. Let's see what we get foam wise. It's really good foam. Kicking out some pressure, that is. So the axis adjust on it is really tight. So if you try and turn it, it's hard. But then that means that when you do the rake adjust, which is the one that you want, you don't need two hands. So it's kind of slightly better than the mjjc in that regard. But Yeah, not great. It's flying through the solution. So we're just going to drop it to maximum or lowest concentration. Doesn't seem to be any stop on that. Oh, there we go, there we go. It's not bad. Won't have any problem with that. Doesn't topple over because it's got a wide base. This is an older lance, so the filters are going to be slightly less fresh, if you like, but it should still work well. We're on max dilution ratio. Might just need to adjust the rake. Yeah, interesting. So the foam is slightly thicker. I think it's just slightly thicker on the mjcc, which is probably what we'd expect. That's given us very thick foam. So, and that's giving us really nice foam as well, actually. But yeah, in a battle of which foam cannon's going to produce you the thickest foam, it's always going to be the mjcc. If you don't like thick foam, just dial it down a little bit. Interesting. So the bottom line here, for your £5, you're going to get a snow foam lance, which has got most of the features of this one. Will make you decent foam, and for the money, it seems like a decent product and reasonably well packaged and presented with instructions and bits. I've had no leaking issues. Is it as good as the mjcc? No, it's not. This feels more robust and better made, but it doesn't feel like that for £5 is punching well above its weight. That is really, you know, merits maybe a £20 price tag on it, because the other thing with all that Aliexpress stuff is whatever stuff is going on there, for them to sell you that for a £5 is just like whatever's going on. It's just not normal, is it? You get stuff on there that they're just giving away, almost like if you haven't bought stuff for a while, you just suddenly see these deals and they're just giving it away. So I think it is a little bit unfair to try and price compare to that. You get prices that are really inflated high, but you also now get these prices which are suspiciously low, and it's like, how the hell is that operating? Is that operating at a loss to just get the market buying from you? And like, if they buy all these cheap things, you do it virtually at cost, but you're pulling in new customers and new email addresses and growing your business. Is that how it all works? Don't know. Now, professional use. I think professional use care less about the price difference, although it really does vary. Some people would, but what they want is when they buy a snow foam lance, they just want it to work. It's going to get dropped, it's going to get kicked, it's going to get trodden on, it's going to get beaten up. And the answer is that this snow foam lance doesn't appear to be as solid and well made. And my guess is that if you drop it more, it's the plastic parts that will suffer, and you'll be able to crack and perhaps damage this cheaper PET bottle a little bit easier. We've already mentioned though that in a professional environment, the mjcc, the bottle tends to stack up pretty well, but that doesn't, and that top piece doesn't. And they can, you know, you get the usual kind of things going, but this also has quite a clever feature that if you want to change, you know, you want to access the inside of it where the orifice is, it's all serviceable by hand, not spanners really, which is quite cool. So you just take that off and then get a different attachment if you do that. And that was quite good, but you could argue it's overkill because you'll never need to change that, and you've screwed it in once and it took 5 seconds. So yeah, you get the idea. A summary of this review though is that Bear Lance, or whatever it's called, Bear Force 1, is a bargain for £5, and it will do a good job. Would I buy it? I don't really get much satisfaction about having that in my garage and on my shelf. But if I was overdrawn and I needed a snow foam lance and I didn't want to go pay 40, 50, 60, 70 quid, whatever they're charging now, I would happily buy one. I would also happily have one as a spare backup for sure, because it seems good quality for the money. So I always like to just sort of break stuff down in my head, and I look at a snow foam lance and I think this really wholesale is probably about £15, something like that. So retail, it probably needs to be somewhere between £30 and £35, which is close to what it used to be. Now it's retail at 46, 47. Whereas this wholesale, well, you're getting it cheaper than wholesale, aren't you? So yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal value. But for me personally, yeah, let's just put myself in the scenario. This breaks tomorrow. And I don't have that. What snow foam lance do I go and buy? I'd probably go and buy an mjcc Pro 2. Since the review, it's been a good lance, and yeah, I think it's good for the money. Typically nowadays, I'm not buying stuff from Aliexpress unless it might be a brush or a sponge or something, you know, something less that I use all the time. A snow foam lance, I think I would pay the money, but I do have a limit. And I think when I start seeing them north of £50, yeah, that tends to just be, for me, I think it's too expensive, and I just would go with that mjcc at 46. But I'm not really even comfortable at 46 when I knew it was 36 a year or so ago. So yeah, it's all down to personal preference. But I can say they don't do a bad job. That's way better than it should be. This should be even thinner and less robust. I should be able to like really crank on that. This should even be thinner and lower quality. It should be worse than it is for £5. It should just have a cheap plastic straw in there. You know, it should be worse. Because remember those real budget Chinese ones that were all brass fitment and just like a generic bottle and like a straw, and they were like £7.99, and I was saying how good value they are. So that, with all its features at £5, is a really good proposition. So I can recommend it if you're on a budget, but don't expect miracles. And if you mishandle it, you know, drop it and stuff like that, you may be prone to it breaking more. But then you're just going to go and buy another one, aren't you, if you're happy with it? And you think, well, that was my fault. I trod on it and I broke it. It's my fault. Or does it just break as you're cranking on something and twisting it? I don't think it will. I think it'll be dropping it that will do it. So that's my thoughts on the Bear Force Snow Foam Lance. Yeah, absolute bargain. But you're getting more than you pay for, but you're still not getting a top premium user experience, and like, you can see where the money's being saved, and you'll know from what I'm telling you whether you want a bit more or a bit less. Yeah, I also like that MTM lance as well. Dan's got it at the moment. I'm loaning it to him because he broke his snow foam lance. Funny enough, they do break. So I'll give him, I'll say I need the MTM back for testing. He'll never watch this video. I'll give him the Bear Force, and also then he'll hammer it, and I get to see if it breaks. Whereas if it's sitting on my shelf not getting used, I'll never really know how it's going to hold up long term. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this whole Aliexpress, this whole Bear Force thing with a sticker. You might, this is a good lance. You might just want to peel that off and like pretend it's something else. Or you can put that flask on that one as well, because that flask may well break later on, but only if you mishandle it. Adios.